On this episode of the Star Wars Time Show, Matt and Nick are returning to the land of tier lists. This time, they'll rank the 14 major Star Wars TV shows that have aired from 2003 to 2024. Both animated and live-action series are fair game for rankings, so tune in to see which ones make S tier and which ones reside in the bottom. Of course, they'll end the show with the question of the week responses and the latest round of Top 5 Star Wars fan artist features. Punch it, Chewie.
Hold on. Hiya, hoya, hiya, hey now. My fingers aren't working, the buttons aren't pressing, but I think we're live. I think we've got audio. We're ready to rock. We're ready to roll. It's another episode of the Star Wars Time Show. Welcome, welcome, friends. We've got some sites pulled up that we weren't necessarily looking for you to see. No, it is not adult-related content, but we are definitely getting ahead of ourselves here. So let me go ahead and put up this little preview window. There we go. That's better. There's the guys. There's Matt and Nick in animated form, looking good, looking angry, looking ready to talk some Star Wars Time Show. All right, Bat's back in. We got League. I saw SW Props was calling
Props
first.
Is in here. He's first.
Pip cheerio. Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back, friends. It's good to see you. We've got an action-packed episode of SWTS once again today. All the other Star Wars podcasts, what are they doing? They're shutting down. They're talking about other properties, not young Nick, an old guy screaming at clouds. No, the SWTS, we continue to push through the Star Wars noise to bring you content each and every week. We'll get you some news. We'll get you some special segments. We'll get you some Ask Us Anything, but we're definitely not going to get you the top 5 today because we fired the asshole that picks it. So Nick's going to have to hire a new top 5 picker for next week. And
Gotta find a new guy.
We'll return to that segment. So, all right, man, let's not piss around. We've got a show to do. We've got fans to entertain or at least waste their time. Hopefully we've got some randos showing up today telling us how stupid we are. That's always fun and adds to the excitement of the show. So welcome, friends. Good to see everyone here. Hope you're doing all right. May the Force be with you. Speaking of the Force, Nick, you and I, we've been talking offline about how YouTube, we're partners now. Whoa. But we have some of the AI tools they feature to their partners, and one is called the Inspiration tab. And every day I try to click on it and see what it generates up. And I found one today that I put in our saved. And I've actually started to kind of work on it a bit using ChatGPT in my excellent prompting skills. So what I'm doing, Nick, I'm taking the generic outline that YouTube's given me, and I've trained Chat to essentially be, you're an expert screenwriter. You have, 40 years of Star Wars knowledge. I need you to punch me up some scripts for YouTube video and the YouTube audience. And so far, it's been doing a pretty damn good job, dude. It gives me like music I should play, images or visuals I should use right from the film. So I think I am going to invest some time into this experiment and see what we get. I know full well the video will probably only do 50 views, but I'm kind of digging this. It's taken a lot of the thought from me. It's making it more efficient. I think the ideas are good. I'm going to use the creepy art it spits out. So essentially, I'm going full YouTube AI, and that's probably going to be my next long form video. So you all will have to tune in and see how that turns out.
See how it goes. I will say that I watched the Dr. Aphra podcast, the AI podcast. With Scott
and Sally, our co-podcasters.
Yeah, our co-podcasters. And that was
not bad,
really
right?
Good.
Yeah, they're not bad.
And I don't know a ton about Dr. Aphra because I'm not a huge comic book reader. And I really do feel like that it gave good context. It was able to follow kind of her life timeline and wasn't telling stuff out of order. I was pretty impressed.
And dude, that's literally my meatbag ass scraping the Wikipedia content, like doing a copy paste into Google's Notebook LM. And then I just say, turn it into a podcast. And here we go. So it's a thing of beauty. I know League's a big fan. She actually named Scott. I think I was going to just, Bob and Sally, but we got Scott and Sally, our AI podcast hosts. So yeah, I'm glad young Nick checked that out. He gave it his stamp of approval, 2 thumbs up. Check it out. YouTube.com/Star Wars Time Show. I'm gonna try to do those a bit more often because they are kind of low hanging fruit. You know what I mean? It's mostly AI generated. It would be great if it also produced visuals to go with it, but for an auditory experience, I think it works. So
I think it does.
All right, cool. So. Well, I'll kind of keep that up. So I've got my toe dipped in 2 ponds right now, AI ponds that is. So full on YouTube inspiration AI. Keep your eyes on that. It's going to be a deep dive into the Force itself. All generated from AI, except for some of my expert level prompting.
There you go.
I'm even going to have to try to read it. It's a full script. Like it says, enter space scene, narrator, overhyped voice. I was like, okay, we're going to do this, dude. We're going to do this. Bat, I'll tell you what, if I could replace Nick and I as AI, I would. Okay. I definitely would.
One day we will be replaced by AI.
Of course.
Whether it be by choice or by just the absolute.
You know what we could do, and we'd probably have to pay for, the pay models, but it's so good now, we could just upload static images of us just like this and record audio on our own time and then just feed it into the AI and then make our heads move and talk like we were actually here live and present. It would look like
South Park.
It's not, dude, it's perfect. That's the thing. It's like you can't even tell anymore. This is how scary we're getting with the deep fake level type of stuff. So, all right. Well, I'm glad Nick likes Scott and Sally because they've got a few episodes out there. They did a Hondo Onaka one. They broke down some Rey news, and I also think they talked a little bit about the Phantom Menace 25th anniversary. So go ahead and check that out. Walnut's a pleasure. Love the handle. Good question. You're exactly right. You don't know if this is AI or not. I mean, I could sit there and I try to stick my tongue out or, pinch my nipples. You just can't tell.
As of right now, nobody's hand has come through.
Right.
Face,
yeah.
So
we still have, we have 5 fingers, like all our digits are here.
Like, see?
And you're not getting like that dream like wavy stuff behind us as we're moving. So far we're probably all right, but good to see you. Thanks for checking us out there, Walnut. Hey there, B-Mad. Good to see you there. Thank you for joining. Hey, if you are listening to the SWTS on our podcast platforms and you want to try out the live stream, we go live 5:30 p. East Wednesdays, youtube.com/Star Wars Time Show. Or you could always watch it the day after. It'll be on the YouTube channel, like I said, /Star Wars Time Show. All right, my man, it's time for a little Ask Us Anything here. We always ask the fans on our social networks. You can find it on YouTube, Discord, Instagram, and Twitter. We put out our Ask Us Anything call, I believe, and you just got to be following, notifications turned on, and get involved. If you're not seeing it, it means you're not interacting with us enough. So more clicky, tap. All right, let's go ahead and bring the question list up here. We'll bring down our lovely logo. I think we have 5 or 6 questions, so not bad. Had to pull some out of the archives because things are slowing down a little bit at the SWTS in terms of fan interaction. But we got a good one here to start us off from Baron Black Series, who really hasn't been asking questions lately. It seems now that he's got his Xbox from Mountain Dew Caps, he doesn't have time to check in on his old pals on the show. So, Nick, Spencer is asking you, why is no one scared of Jabba?
I think that the question is not, well, it's a good question in terms of like, why is nobody scared of Jabba in terms of his physicality? Because he literally can't do anything. If I'm in a room with Jabba the Hutt and he's 3 feet away from me, or he's 2 feet away from me, I win. He can't get to me. He's slow. He doesn't have the ability to stretch or move. very quickly. So if he was to try to come at me, I could easily dodge him. But what I do think people are scared of is his connections, or were scared of was his connections and his ability to demand the services of one like Boba Fett or something.
Yeah. I mean, Jabba as an entity himself, not very scary. It's the power he wields with the, essentially the Hutt clan, the cartel they got running there. But, if it's like Nick said, if it's a one-on-one in an alleyway, you go up, you slap the bitch in the face, and you don't even have to run away. You can just casually walk away, and he's not going to get you. It does make you wonder, Nick, why no one was just like, why are we taking orders from this thing? Like, we have guns, he doesn't, he can't move. Boom! See you later, slug boy.
Yeah. Should be pretty easy. So
yeah, it did. I mean, it was, I guess, just like our mob, I guess it is intimidating to take out a head of a family, but still, you think you take out the head, you assume some of that power, and maybe the rest are like, oh shit. But hey, never happened until Slave Leia. Yes, I'm not changing her to Hutt Slayer or whatever the fuck they call her now. She was Slave Leia, always will be Slave Leia, just like Boba Ship is the Slave One. Okay, words like that really shouldn't hurt people. All right. This is why we've gotten to a problem in society, because we care about that type of stuff versus some other things. That's what I'm saying. Bat, I get you. Bat's saying, why was everyone afraid of, Corleone? I understand. All right. I understand. Mm-hmm. It's the whole mob thing, but still, I would like to think if I had my chance, I would take my shot and pop him right there in that orange eyeball. All right, next one from the fans. Ask us anything. This is coming from our buddy Abigail Sky. I wish she was on here right now. I need her to try to explain to me season 2 of Arcane, because while I enjoyed it, Nick, I finished it last night. I'm just like, what in the shit is going on, dude?
I have not finished it yet. Yeah, I haven't finished it yet, but that's the last season of Arcane,
I know.
So.
I will say this. If you're someone that is into psychedelics, I believe this show would be ideal for your visual pleasure.
The animation style is fantastic.
When it goes in and out, it'll go like it's standard animation in the chalk, in the CG. I mean, it gets pretty trippy.
Yeah.
Like I said, I enjoyed it. I think Vi and Jinx, great characters. Their threads were handled pretty well. But when it came to this Victor character and Jason, like turning into like essentially a god being, that shit lost me. The pacing got a little weird, and then here we are, it's over. So whatever. I know it's a long old show, and I do like it, but it just got a little clunky there.
The hex tech angle of it is definitely something that's a little hard to grasp.
Yeah. League, you're with me. Victor and Jason is just like it. Whatever. I don't want to go any further, but it's just like timelines were weird, multiverse, this, that. I mean, what was going on? I understood at the beginning, Pitlover, or the upper part of Pitlover against Zahn.
Piltover,
yeah, that all made sense, and then it just stopped making sense. So, all right, that guy saying Arcane season 2 is mid, season 1 great. Yeah, I mean, I guess I can kind of agree. I still really enjoyed the franchise, and it's sad that it's over, but things got a little off the rails. Anyway, sorry about that. A little tangent. If you're new here, it happens. We have baby brains. So, what Abby is asking you, young Nick, do you wake up when your alarm goes off the first time or hit the snooze?
First time. I don't have a second alarm. In fact, recently I've been waking up
just
before my alarm goes off.
Oh boy, you're moving into your old man years, my friend. Welcome to the land of you barely sleep ever again in your life. I remember it too, because I was kind of like you. I know you're in your mid 30s now. In my 30s, I basically was a third shifter. I mean, I would stay up till 2, 3, get up around 10 or so. Had a kid in 2016, so that helped for the first year because I was already up late to help with bottles and whatnot. But after that, I had to kind of fall back into a dad's schedule. But even now, I mean, to answer this question, I don't have to set an alarm with my type of work. I just kind of lay in bed and then roll over and it's time to get up. I never really feel like I sleep anymore, and this has been years. So I'm not sitting here bitching and moaning like a lot of people that can't sleep. I've just learned to accept it. I push forward. I continue to work out. I continue to fast. I do not let sleep affect me. And I wish I could bless that upon a lot of you, because I've got a lot of people in my life where sleep, and if they don't get it, it can literally fucking take them out. And I just don't understand it. I do not understand it. And I don't take caffeine, haven't had caffeine in over 20 years. So get some! I'm an alpha male. What do we got here? Puta Fideos. I'm unemployed, so I don't have to wake up. Yep, I got you. I'm employed, and I really don't have to wake up anytime before my body wants to get up. So, but I will tell you this, Abby. The few times I do have to set an alarm throughout the year, maybe vacation or a kid breakfast or whatnot, knowing that I have an alarm prevents me from sleeping even more. So I always wake up before the alarm goes off. How's that? Life is fun. Just wait till you hit 40, Nick. Your eyes will get even worse. You might stop hearing as well. You never know what's going to happen. So, few more years, right? What are you, 35 now? 36?
36.
Oh, shit. He's climbing. Sure. He's more than halfway there. All right. Thank you, Abby. So I don't sleep, and Nick just gets right up. All right. I like this one. Scion XTC. This dude knows what I like to eat. Black or pinto beans, Nick?
I mean, I eat both of them depending on what the dish is, honestly. Like if you're doing refried beans, it's pinto beans. But if you're doing beans in like a
burrito,
rice bowl,
burrito beans, bowl beans,
black beans. Yeah,
that is the correct answer. Okay, there is no other answer. if you're going pinto beans, they have to be refried, turned into a paste, because that is their best form, their best taste. And if you're using beans in any other dish as a complement, to add a little texture, it's got to be black. So yeah, I roll black beans all the time on my burritos, irregardless of the burrito chain I am at. How dare you, Bat? They do not taste like dirt. They are amazing, especially Chipotle's black beans when they sit in that juice with those little bay leaves in there or something. Hold on. B-Mad coming in. B-Mad's always, whipping that big D around. We love you, brother. But he's got a question, and he earmarked it with $10. Whoop, whoop. All right. You just got hired as a lead writer and director of a Lucasfilm project. What's your film, and where do you get the inspiration?
That's a good question. I mean, as somebody who was writing a Star Wars story at one time and has now readapted that into a story that's not Star Wars related, I would probably just make the thing that I was writing, which was essentially a prequel to the Bane series, which was basically a story about how the Jedi discovered the first, or not the first, but how the Jedi discovered the Sith Academy that was training and producing Sith warriors and building up a force that would then attack the Jedi Order and attack the galaxy as a whole. It was kind of, it would have been like a, not really like a spy thriller movie, but essentially the plot of it was a very well-trained Jedi Knight infiltrated the Sith Academy and was passing information back to the Jedi. And during his time in the Sith Academy, he was tasked with passing information back, but also, if he could, trying to assassinate the leader of the
look at this motherfucker.
Sith.
Dude, you've got enough of a shell that all you got to do is feed it into AI right now, and it'll finish it for you. I'll give. I mean, I have a prompt. I'm not kidding around. Anyone that is into AI and prompting, I have this new craft prompt. It's a prompt to write the perfect prompt. So you throw this prompt into the your language model. It should then prompt you okay, cool, I'm ready to make the best prompt ever. What do you want? And then you just say, give me a prompt on Nick's Star Wars story. And then it'll spit out the perfect prompt for Nick's story. Then you run that through to get the content. I promise you, it is golden. craft,
Okay,
context, role, action, format, target audience. It's as if I am a computer
Please
science
don't do
instructor.
that with my story, though. I don't want fucking AI touching anything that I have in my head or that I want to write.
All right. Well, we'll just once Musk completes the takeover, we will implant his whatever he's making for your brain, and we'll just suck it out forcefully. Okay.
Yeah.
We're coming for your ideas, Nick.
Yeah. I mean, I already have my entire book outlined, and I've started writing it. So
this is a completely
hopefully.
random side here. We were talking about you today. I mean myself and my neighbors. Because they sent me that like mega, it's essentially, they call it a gaming table, but it's a Dungeons and Dragons table. Have you seen it where
The Wormwood one?
Yeah, you wheel out, like literally there's a fucking hand crank to crank out the game board with like castles and buildings on it and shit. And I was like, you know what? As nerdy as D&D sounds and is, those few times that young Nick cooked up a story with the Star Wars skin for D&D, it's fun. I'm not gonna lie.
It is fun.
Like I
It is
totally
fun.
see how people sit around on a Friday, Saturday, Sunday, whatever during the week with buddies for what does a usual session take you? I mean, we tried to keep them trim for the YouTube.
Yeah.
But what, 3-4 hours probably?
Yeah, when I was doing it for my like at home with my friends, which we haven't done it in over a year now. That's just how it happens. We would usually go like 3 hours. 3 hours was like the normal time. You take like you order food, pizza gets here, everybody kind of grabs a slice.
That's what I mean. It's
sits
like an event. It's not just playing board games. I mean, it's a thing. You got to role play, get in the character. Maybe some of your friends, make voices.
Yeah.
But it's like we need a dungeon master, and so we'd have to have Nick move here if we're buying that table. So
yeah, exactly.
All right.
But yeah, I mean, it's fun. It's always
it is. I'm not gonna lie, it is cool, but it is one of those things that you understand. It is like so far in nerd culture that even to this day, where geeks and nerds have become more popular, still like, oh man, D&D, like you're really into that nerdy shit. So, but who gives a shit, right? Who cares? If you like it, we love it. All right, I guess I'll get the B mad since he paid up. So I'm not as intelligent and creative as Nick, so I'm going right towards a Darth Vader movie or project TV series. We've talked about it a million times on this dumb little show. I think getting inside that guy's head and not just having him always be the antagonist, the imposing figure that barely talks. We don't know what he's ever thinking. We don't know what he's ever feeling outside until, Return of the Jedi when his son beat him and he finally opens up. I want to get into the mind of Darth Vader. I want to experience the galaxy through his point of view. The inspiration would just come from my 44 years of fandom. So I think everyone would love that. I think I would become a national hero, if not a galactic hero. And they may talk about me in the same vein as George Lucas if I pulled it off. So thank you. Thank you very much, everybody. All right, good one there, B-Man. Thank you for the super chat as always. Okay, I think we got one more question, possibly, unless we got
two.
Okay,
Yeah,
two more.
Two.
All right, this is an easy one from
standard. Yeah,
from
standard
EKU Rory. You know what that means if you are a returning fan, but he always has Jar Jar on the mind, so he's asking, will Jar Jar ever get the respect he deserves? I think you can answer that for yourself, Mr. Smith. It's been, what are we talking about now? Almost 25 years since the debut of Jar Jar.
25
and
years, indeed.
No, he's never going to get the respect that you want him to have.
They've also killed him off, right? They killed him in the comics.
They made him a bum, kind of like a hobo that juggles on streets and stuff. So I don't think it's ever coming. I mean, hell, even the guy that brought him to life, he's like, dude, just let me be any other character but Jar Jar. And he has now taken on the identity of Kelleran Beck. So not going to happen. All right, Bat, would the fandom swallow a romantic comedy based on Obi-Wan and Satine's relationship? I never see Kenobi in anything humorous, though. That's the thing. Like,
I know he has some humorous moments in the prequel trilogy for sure, but as a whole series, it's hard.
It's not his bag. You know what I mean? It's not his bag. So no, I don't like that. I don't like that. I could see they're more of a comedy with Anakin and Padme, just because it would be like a comedy of heirs because they're always trying to hide their relationship. So that could be a little silly. All right, and then
situational comedy.
Last one here, another one from Abby. Would you rather scuba dive or skydive, Nick?
I've done both. So I'll tell you which one I prefer. I prefer scuba diving because skydiving goes very quickly, and typically you don't really see all that much. Like you can't really control it either. It's like you have very little control over your descent. And I'm sure like when you're at a high level, you can make it last longer. But when you're scuba diving, you have much more control over where you're going, what you can see, and you know exactly how much time you have to explore. So I prefer scuba diving.
Yeah, I'm not a very cultured person, so I've done neither. The furthest I've made it is snorkeling in Hawaii. So
nice.
I don't know. I mean, I guess which one would suck to die more?
Which one would suck to die
probably
more?
Scuba
diving for sure.
You just drown. You'd suffocate or explode if you went too far down. Let's say you lost control of your weights or something. They start pulling you down. See you later. You get eaten by something. So, well, you've done them both. Which one is more thrilling? Like which one kind of hits you in the gut right before you do it?
It's skydiving is more thrilling because it's like if you've never jumped out of a plane before, then you're like, holy fuck, I'm going to jump out of a plane.
Yeah, okay. I get that. So
and then it's over in 4 minutes, 5 minutes, something like that.
When you scuba dive, do you ever get claustrophobic in the mask and having your mouth hooked up to a tube?
So I haven't done it in a while. Like I've done all my certification and stuff, but since I've moved to Austin, I haven't done it. It can be claustrophobic for sure. And like I do have a little bit of claustrophobia. So those videos you see of people like cave diving and stuff like that's probably not for me.
Yeah, no.
Open water diving is very fun though. Open water diving where you have good visibility.
Yeah.
You understand your depth. You understand the creatures that are around you. It's really fun.
Could you hit bottom or were you just floating with the fish?
My certification is 60 feet depth. So I can go 60 feet down.
All right.
But yeah, so that's just how it works.
All right. Well, there you go. I guess I would skydive then because it would just be over quicker. You know what I mean? I think Nick makes the more sane points. I agree with him, but gun in the head, I'm probably jumping out of a plane just to get it over with. Yeah, no, people that go in caves underwater or on land, like good for them. I just ain't my thing. So the tight stuff, like I'll go to like a big mammoth cave, or like the touristy stuff. Sure, that's neat, but I'm not trying to go off the grid. All right, I'm a 44-year-old white guy at this point in time. I want to live a few more years. You know what I mean? I'm a little more wise than I used to be, taking less risk, if you will. Leprechaun likes free climbing. Yeah, that's one that like, man, those people are intense. Did you ever watch that documentary on? I forget what it was on, but it was. Is that free climber? It's like that. They're just good.
It's
kudos
wild,
to you.
Dude.
Like if you got the mental fortitude to do that, I think you're probably one of the mentally and physically strongest people on earth. So, more credit to you. All right, there you go. That's Ask Us Anything for this week. Thanks for playing along. Like we said, we typically put out the prompts for AUA on Mondays on our socials and Wednesdays for the last call. Puta Fideo, yes, I free ball myself. It always feels good. I am a full-on boxer guy at this point in time. I can't wear anything, no briefs, no boxer briefs. I gotta let like my old man balls just kind of hang and breathe. In my 40s. All right, let's go ahead and get into a few other little low-hanging fruit, and then we'll get into some Star Wars news, and then it is time to tier rank the 14 Star Wars TV shows that have released since 2003. That's right, there's been 14 of them, if you include animated and live action. And to make the list, they had to have at least 2 seasons. They couldn't just be YouTube series, stuff like that. So that's our main segment coming up here. But first, Little pop culture talk, real quick one. I forgot to pull up the poster here, but as promised, I did go and see Heart Eyes last Thursday, and it's pretty good. Young Nick and I were talking before we went live, and he revealed to me he actually knows the guy that made it. He's kind of, would you say, Nick, he's known for what? Like
he's like an improv comedy person. Josh Rubin is his name. Improv comedy. If you are familiar with that scene, he's really good.
So I guess this is his first turn at directing a big film, Hard Eyes. It is a kind of a thrasher horror type of movie. And when Nick said that, like this, this guy's background is kind of in comedy or, doing sketches and stuff. It made sense because Hard Eyes to me felt very much like a Scream movie where it's fucked up. The violence is pretty hardcore. There are some scares. There is tension, but there are also laughs to kind of break up the tension so you're not just sitting there white knuckling the entire time. So if you're into horror movies, you like them themed around the holiday this week. We got Valentine's Day coming up on Friday. You could probably find worse things to spend your time with your significant other. So I'd check that out. I'm going to hit up Captain America this Thursday. Definitely want to see what we tried to figure out his name. Ki Kwan's latest movie. Yeah, I know we got the Monkey something from Stephen King or whatever's coming out this week or today. So it's starting to pick up a little bit. We usually get a little rush of movies here before the spring-summer splash. So I'll be interested to report back on Captain America because I'm going in blank. I'm not really excited for it. Haven't really paid attention to the trailers. I know my man Han Solo's in it, and he's going to Red Hulk out, so that should be at least entertaining. But Nick, that just almost Pavlovian feel we all used to get when an MCU movie came out, I think is completely dead for me at this point in time, and I know it is for you as well.
See, this is the one that Taylor and I are actually interested in seeing. So okay. We're probably going to see it, and it's just because it feels more like Phase 1 MCU. Like it doesn't feel like this multiversal, like out in space nonsense where there's a bunch of random aliens all over. It feels more grounded in reality, and I know that there's a Hulk in it, and I know that it's a superhero movie, but it feels more like Phase 1 MCU, where it's like you can understand the stakes better than it is where it's like, if we don't get this book through this hole here, then the multiverse is going to explode. It's like, I don't even fucking know what that means.
You didn't like Phase 4 and 5? Are we out of Phase 5? Are we in Phase? I don't even know where we're at anymore.
Yes, phase numbers, I have no motherfucking clue at this point.
You know what I mean, though? I mean, think back to 2018, 2019, when we were getting Infinity War in the Endgame, and just the anticipation and the buildup from almost 10 years of movies. That's all gone. Like, they pissed away all that goodwill in 6 years or something. So yeah, that's kind of what I was saying. I'm kind of like that guy here. I'm not super excited about MCU anymore, which sucks. But I think I'll be entertained. I mean, come on, I'm a mush head. I can be entertained by pretty much anything in the right circumstance. So I will be checking that out, and we will report back next week. All right. Good old Hard Eyes. So some newsy stuff here, and then we'll get into the special topic. Tier ranking the 14 Star Wars TV shows since 2003. But Nick, we got some words coming from the lovely young Daisy Ridley's mouth on her movie here, and it still doesn't seem like it's moving around, or doing much. But she's letting everyone know that, like, hey, I'm a little bit more involved in the BTS than I was as a young actress, kind of coming up and doing my first big picture. She's like, I don't think I'll be a producer on it, but I certainly have been very involved. I'm involved in, well, not very involved, but I'm involved in as much as I know what's going on. I know the story. I know what's going on with the script. So I'm aware of all of that. And I think what's been really wonderful over the last few years is being more involved from the start to finish. Really coming to set knowing this is the absolute best way we can tell this story. These are the best actors for the job. This is the best crew. Having that confidence is so lovely. And it's not that I didn't have that before, Yeah, right, someone's throwing shade. But I'm much more cognizant of it now. So in that way, I'm looking forward to turning up, really knowing the ins and outs of what the journey has been, and we're arriving at the absolute best place to tell this story. So Nick, was she essentially taking a jab at her sequel's experience there?
I mean, yeah. Like, and it's hard not to. I mean, she may be the only one who hasn't at this point.
Right.
Yeah, to be honest. I mean, Boyega's been very vocal about his displeasure.
I'd say
with
Oscar
the
has probably
sequels.
been the least talkative because he's like, whatever. I got paid
Yeah.
for Star Wars Resistance. I got paid for the Lego shit. I don't care.
Yeah, he literally said, like, I would go back to Star
Hell
Wars
yeah,
if
dude.
I want to buy a new house. He's like, if I'm looking for fucking house money, sign me back up. And look, I mean, here's what I'll say. I think that having an established character in the universe, that actor that is that established character, at least informed, which it seems like she is. It doesn't seem like she's like saying like, well, she would do this or whatever. Like,
Exactly.
like having them informed on the process, the story that's being told, maybe giving some input, who knows, I think is a good idea because they've lived in this character for her time as Rey probably 2014 to 2019. So 5 years, they know that like she knows this character very well. I mean, she spent more time with it than the individual writers on each of the movies. So,
She's also a more mature human too. I mean, think about how we've changed from 20 to 30 to 40.
Yeah, I mean, you gain a lot of perspective, you gain a lot of knowledge, especially about how these big, like large scale productions work. I mean, she's been through 3 of the highest grossing films of the last 10 years. I mean, regardless of what your thoughts are of those movies, each of them made over $1 billion.
Money, that's for sure.
And not only that, I mean, they cost a lot of money to make too. So she understands the process of making a very big budget film. So I'm happy to hear that she's involved. It's a story about her character.
What I was picking up is like, it sounds for the first time that she feels everyone is in the right place. You know, there's no chaos. Directors aren't changing, scripts aren't changing between the trilogy. I mean, think what that was doing to the cast. They all signed up like, here's your director for this, here's your director, and by the end of it, it's all blown up. Scripts are changed, directions of their character change. Who knows how much they already read? So I think she's kind of commenting on that chaos as well from the sequel trilogy, and like Nick is saying, they're saying the right things. You still got to execute, still got to have a good story. But I think the fact that your lead here feels more connected and is trusting of everyone involved and the processes they're using, it should just yield a better product. So let's just hope they finish the damn script. We're on writer number 4, and they get to shooting it. All right. So another little quick hit, a movie that has been shot. It is on film. It's in post, so it will be making its theater debut May 2026. That is The Mandalorian and Grogu. We know Sigourney Weaver is in it. We have a rumor. We've heard a rumor that we believe in from Bespin Bulletin that her name is Colonel Bishop as a nod to the Alien franchise. And she's going to be with the New Republic, and she's going to be giving a mission to Din Djarin. All right. So, what she says here, though, is basically she's like the only reason I signed on to this project because I'm already in a sci-fi franchise. I know hers is more sci-fi than Star Wars. But she's like, I don't need this. I don't need to join a major franchise. I am a major franchise, but I signed on because of Baby Yoda. She's like, I get to have scenes with a little Grogu, which is probably why I did the movie. And he's a little badass too. It's going to be wonderful for people to see what Grogu is up to now because he's grown up a little bit and is capable of much more than maybe we think just watching the series. So, so there you go. I mean, I know Nick's been right. Nick's been Grogu needs to talk or he needs to burn. That's been his slogan ever since the end of Mandalorian season 3, right? Like you've got the noose ready for Grogu if he is not eloquent with his words.
I just want to hear him talk. Like
he does. He just talks like this.
It's just at what age did Yoda start talking? I mean, I know we don't meet Yoda until he's nearly 900
and that motherfucker
years old.
can't talk at 900. So, you know, I mean, Yaddle is the only one we can look to as someone from that species that actually has eloquence.
Yeah. So I just want to hear him talk. I mean, look, he's a cute character. He is definitely what drew people into The Mandalorian and into Star Wars TV as a whole. I just want to hear him talk. I just want to hear the guy at this point.
I want to eat. What if he talks like Patrick Mahomes?
That would be perfect. Just get old Patty to fucking voice him.
I'm hungry. Let's go eat some frog babies. Oh man,
it would match his exterior, but I do like. There's only and like here's the thing is like there's only so much character development that can happen with a literal infant child that has to be carried around all the time.
Well, maybe he's a little more proficient in his pram now, you know, scooting around.
Yeah, I mean the good thing about Mandalorian season 3 was that they gave him a little bit of autonomy with his IG-11 suit, and he was able to get around and he was able to communicate in some form or fashion with that, which was nice to see. But I do hope that we get to a point to where it's not just like, okay, we'll carry the baby around, protect the baby, the baby.
No, we
baby.
saw him in that sizzle reel, man. He's going in there. He's disabling power. Din's, you know, doing this, doing that. I have full faith that Grogu will be further along with a bit of development, but I don't think anyone's going to get the type of character development they're expecting. He is still a puppet from a race that speaks in a minimal fashion. They're not very verbose either way. They kind of speak when spoken to, that type of stuff. And what B-Mad's saying here. Speaking of, go Philly, and they not like us. That was an interesting Super Bowl. Not going to lie. I did not expect the Chiefs to come out as flat as they did. I don't really give a shit because they're in the AFC. My team's in the AFC, so screw them. But I did not anticipate Philadelphia just absolutely donkey stomping the Chiefs. I mean, it was embarrassing for Kansas City. So kudos to the city of brotherly love. Hopefully they have not burned it fully down yet, because those people definitely like to party like it's 1999 up there when their team wins or loses. And I thought the halftime show was excellent. And yes, I am a white man, so take that and stick it in your pipe and smoke it. I thought what Kendrick did, if you actually kind of studied the symbolism and weren't just listening to the words and thinking it was a complete diss on Drake the whole time, I thought it was pretty ballsy, and I liked what he did. So that's that. All right, last thing Miss Sigourney Weaver says is, I play a wonderful character who is, you know, in a position of authority, and I have to send the Mandalorian out on a mission on the Outer Rim where all the bad stuff happens. So, Nick, it sounds like she may be the one tasking Din to go get Rhoda the Hutt, right?
Yeah, it seems like it. It seems like she is the mission giver. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting to see, like, obviously, she's not giving up too much about her character. She wants to play some stuff close to the chest. This is essentially, like you said, what's leaked or what we kind of already know already. So I wonder if her character is going to have a little bit more long tail story that's not being revealed yet, or if there's a little bit more to her than what meets the eye currently. But hey, look, I love Sigourney Weaver. I love the Alien franchise. I've been a huge fan of her and other Ghostbusters as well. I mean, I believe that
is the
Ghostbusters.
Best.
Yeah, I mean, like Ghostbusters was my first introduction to her.
I am Gozer. Where is Zool?
Yeah,
I need the Keymaster.
Are you the Keymaster? Yeah.
I still love Rick Moranis when he's got like the colander on his head, or you know, and he's just like, yes, have some. And I forget, it's like they try to give him coffee, and I don't know why that line sticks out in my mind as funny, but when I was a kid, I thought it was fucking hilarious. They're like, "Do you want some coffee?" And he's like, "Yes, have some," because he's like so whacked out from whatever's happening.
He's all gozered up.
Yeah, no, so. I mean, like B-Mad's saying, Sigourney she's just it. She's just one of those people when it comes to the film industry. She's awesome.
I mean,
but you're right. I mean, depending on what they do with her in this movie, maybe she gets got, but she would have potential to cross into Ahsoka, as well as the if it ever happens, the Mandoverse Endgame style crossover flick. So we may see her again unless they take her out. All right, so that covers the low-hanging fruit. You all have been informed. We always try to teach you at least one stupid thing a week. So now, everyone, it is time for a little tier ranking. We kind of got down with this last fall, had a few tier ranks. You can go check those episodes out if you missed them. We are returning now to tier rank the 14, that's right, the 14 Star Wars TV shows that aired in between 2003, 2024, and technically the beginning of 25. So we're talking all the way back to Gennady Tartakovsky's Clone Wars, up through Skeleton Crew. All right, so I'm sure people got their favorites in there. I'll flip over real quick if you're on the live stream. We did have our and it crashed itself out, so let's go ahead and bring that up. But we did have the fans vote, so we will make sure to compare those at the end. The fans have spoken. They've got their S tier TV, A tier, B tier, C tier, and they do have one in D tier. And it probably doesn't surprise people because I think young Nick and I are the only two Star Wars fans in this galaxy
that actually watched it.
That watched it, studied it, did a podcast on it specifically just for this show. And we're talking about Star Wars Resistance.
Star Wars Resistance.
That's right, people. There's always time for Star Wars time over at the SWTS. So I know that one rubs a lot of people the wrong way, even more so than maybe the Acolyte, believe it or not. So, all right, here we go, man. It's time to rank them. They're not in any sort of order. They're just the order that the machine put them in. I loaded up the posters and it said, fuck your order. So we are obliging. So the first series we are going to rank, my friend, is The Bad Batch. We got 3 seasons of it. Great first season, middle season, not as good as the first. Third season had its moments, but I think ultimately everyone kind of felt a bit let down by the finale and the fact that a lot of clones threads were left open. And I'm talking named clones, Echo, Wolf, stuff like that. Cody, where the fuck's Cody? You know what I mean? So didn't end strong, but I would say for a series, pretty darn good. It told a part of the Skywalker saga that we really didn't have any content from, that literally the day after the fall of the Republic and the rise of the Empire. Great characters, memorable characters, Omega, all the bros, Hunter, Wrecker, Echo, Tech, Teak, and Crosshair. I dug it, but it definitely kind of tailed out from the first season. It fizzled.
It fizzled pretty hard.
Yeah, that guy, Crosshair arc in season 2 was definitely the highlight, 100%.
Yeah, that was the high point in the series for sure. If my initial thought is probably like B tier, like middle B tier. It's a show that had potential, and it's a show that started off pretty good and then just really fell flat at the end. Like if they would have figured out how to do season 3 of that show in a way that wasn't so, I don't know, just so bad, for lack of a better term to put it. Like that's the thing is, like, I wish I could say that it was anything other than bad, but season 3 was just bad. Like if they would have figured out season 3, I could argue that maybe this falls into like a low A tier.
Yeah.
But overall for me, I think it's like a middle B. It's a series that ultimately you probably, like, if you're going through the timeline and you really want to watch everything, yeah, you can watch it. You can find some enjoyment out of it. But like, if I'm telling people like essential Star Wars shows to watch, The Bad Batch just isn't on that list.
No.
Yeah.
I mean, they tried at the end to really loop it into the sequels with Project Necromancer, but even that just kind of went like, You know what I mean? So
Yeah,
I'm with you. I think B is generous for Bad Batch. I mean, I do have a little bit of soft spot for some of the clones, especially Wrecker, that big dummy, that big dumb dipshit. So yeah, I think B's fair for Bad Batch. I don't think it needs to be punished any more than that. But like you said, if season 3 was more thought out, and who knows, man, I do kind of feel like they might have been thinking they were going to get more seasons, and then they were told no more seasons, so they kind of had to condense. Maybe that's why it got a little wonky. But yeah, it did not end. It did not end strong. All right. Hey there, Mariana. Good to see you. It's been a while. All right, next one here, Nick. We just got the second season of it. It kind of changed its direction, but we're talking about the Tales of. We're just going to call it Tales of X. So we had, Tales of the Jedi, then we had Tales of the Empire. So, we have 2 seasons to evaluate it on, and much like the Bad Batch, it's another series that just was like, holy shit. I mean, season 1, I think, is some of the best short-form animated Star Wars since Gennedy's Clone Wars. We got amazing backstory on Count Dooku, amazing backstory on Ahsoka. It all made sense. It all informed us even more about why these characters made the choices they made in the prequels and the Clone Wars series itself. Then we come to Empire, Nick, and, the characters they chose had potential, but it just did not pay off. We had, Barriss and Morgan for Tales of the Empire, and neither one just quite lived up to the tales told in Tales of the Jedi. So I think that kind of chips away at this series' overall rating. So I will defer to you to set the tier.
This one is really hard to rank because it is essentially 2 completely disconnected seasons. And I would put season 1 in A tier probably, and I would put season 2 in like low C or D tier. Like, it's just like season 2 was just not good.
Well, I guess I did use the poster for Tales of the Jedi, so if we want to cheat, we could.
I would say as a series overall, it's probably low B tier because, or like around the same place as Bad Batch, B tier, because season 1 was so good. And essentially what I would do is just tell people like, hey, watch Tales of the Jedi, not Tales of the Empire.
Okay.
Just stop after season 1.
That's a pretty damning statement. So I don't think it can climb much higher than B with that statement you just laid down on its coffin. So unfortunately, because of season 2, I do agree with young Nick. While it still had, great animation, great music, and the idea was there, Tales of the Empire just was maybe even below mid. You know what I mean? So I think if we average a damn near S tier, high A tier with a B tier, C tier, we get B tier for the Tales series. Okay.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
I think that's fair.
This next one's going to be interesting.
Now, just get back to making Tales of the Jedi, okay? I want to see one for Balin. I think that's a special topic we need to do one day. What are Tales of X series or Tales of Jedi we would like to see? I think that would be fun.
Yeah, for sure.
You're not kidding, man. This next one, all right? So we've got our first live action series to tier rank right now. This is another one that I think when it was revealed, teased at the end of, Mandalorian Season 2, everyone was like, oh, shit. I'll still credit it as one of my greatest speculations of all time, because I remember the beginning of Season 2, I was like, hey, man, what if Boba Fett just comes back to the palace looking for his ship one day? And sure as shit, it happens. And I even said he'd probably be talking to Bib Fortuna because Jabba was dead. And you know what? Those are little wins we like to beat our chest about over here. We don't have many friends. We need our bucket filled at all times. So anytime we can talk about how awesome we are, we do. But then we got the season. And we're talking about the Book of Boba Fett, people. Okay? I'll just kind of, for anyone new here, I'm never going to be as negative and angry as a lot of hardcore Star Wars fans. And I'm not saying Nick is an angry or hardcore. He is kind of hardcore, but he's not angry. You know, Nick, he's a little more critical than I am. I'm kind of, like I said, I'm mushy brain a lot of time when it comes to science fiction, especially my sci-fi, fantasy, Star Wars. So I'm typically a little more positive, but I will say the Book of Boba Fett did not meet my expectations. I didn't mind the unique take on Boba, trying to actually make him more than just a meathead behind the helmet that once was known as Bozo Fett on this little show. But I do think they neutered him a bit too much. The Mod Squad gang, I didn't have a problem with them, but yeah, those bikes, not even their look, they just moved unnaturally. So slow. Yeah, it looked awful. I mean, it looked like something Nick and I could go shoot in a back lot. And that's exactly what they did. So yeah, and then, you know, episode 5, it completely leaves Boba Fett for an entire episode and just dedicates it to the Mandalorian, and then he more or less takes up the finale too. So I don't know. I think Book of Boba Fett has some awesome moments. All right, his Haka dance when he becomes a part of the Tusken tribe. You know, coming out in the new armor paint, riding Rancors, him and Din fighting together as Mandos in full armor. That was kind of neat to see. And even Din's standalone had some great narrative to it. But Nick, I think overall, the Book of Boba Fett just did not hit the mark fans were looking for. And, like I said, I was more open and positive to it, even though I'm kind of a Bozo Fett hater, but it just did not pay off. Yeah. My thought here is C tier, which I know that some people are going to be like, oh, see, it's below the other two. But the thing is like, even the guy who plays Boba Fett was like, I don't like this show. More or less, yeah. Even Tim was like, dude, can we like make a real Boba Fett show now? Or like, can we do something that's more Boba Fett with Boba Fett? I think that there were too many moments that missed the mark. Like there were so many moments in there, specifically the one that stands out to me is at the end where in the show called The Book of Boba Fett, where one of the primary storylines is Boba Fett trying to essentially tame this Rancor. There comes a moment where it is time to tame the Rancor, and who does it? Fucking Grogu does. Oh, yeah, that's right. I forgot that this is like a big bug in your ass about this. It's just so bad. It's such dumb narrative storytelling, especially when you have a character who the fucking whole time that's what he's trying to do. And then you give it to the baby Yoda. Like, I just don't understand why they did that. But overall, it was just like, there were too many things. Like, really the best part of the show was everything when he was with the Tuskens up to the, you know, like his full kind of acceptance into the tribe. Everything after that just felt weird and clunky, and it just didn't really fit with the character of Boba Fett that we knew, which, I mean, granted, the character of Boba Fett that we knew was essentially a nobody that was in two halves of a movie. So yeah, disclaimer, we're talking about the live action Boba Fett that was presented to most fans. We're not talking about Legends Boba Fett, comic book Boba Fett. No Legends. We were talking about the bozo on screen that in Empire Strikes Back needs Darth Vader to capture his bounty. He does no work for it. And then he dies by the hands of a blind person in Return of the Jedi, like a complete buffoon. We obviously know the Boba arcs in Clone Wars and stuff like that. Not trying to take away from that, but realistically, the character of Boba Fett as we know him is just not super fleshed out. I think it's C just because there was a lot of potential for this, and I think that a lot of people were very excited for it, and then they watched it and they were like, oh, this is what Robert Rodriguez came up with. Yeah. The guy like this dude, Robert Rodriguez is a legendary filmmaker. Dude, I don't think anybody's gonna argue with that. City. And this is the Boba Fett story that this guy came up with. Yeah. Wow. It's just they spent too much time playing guitar and singing in between takes, I think, on the Book of Boba Fett production. So I'm with you, man. I think it 100% earns itself a C tier. It's one of the series that I just have had no inclination to go back to. I mean, I'll check in on episodes from Mando here or there, or maybe Ahsoka, but Book of Boba Fett, yeah, see ya. C tier, pal. Welcome to Team Yellow. All right, next one here. This will be interesting because I think even you and I kind of had different takes on this series. We're talking about Cassian's little project, season 2 coming up on April 2/2. So Andor. Listen, I mean, it's from Lord Gilroy, so it already, we just have to say starts B tier minimum and can only go up. Lord Gilroy does not produce.
We don't have a Gilroy tier?
We probably do need, we probably should have for this one. Even above S is just Gilroy tier.
Yeah.
So listen, Andor, it's the first one that it feels like the creators actually told Disney what they wanted to do versus Disney saying, no, it needs to be this way. So it had that going for it. It had 12 episodes. They were all, at least 35, sometimes 40 minutes plus. Yeah. It was a very fleshed out story. I mean, you got it, whether you loved Andor or not, it had a very clear narrative that was told from start to finish. Everything was paid off on that needed paid off on, and things that needed set up for season 2 were set up damn near expertly. I loved the music. I know Nick hates it, but I loved Kino Loy and the One Way Out moment. I love the, Cassian, his growth throughout the series, going essentially from a guy that's willing to just shoot someone in cold blood and a me type of person to someone ready to commit to the rebellion thanks to the sacrifice of his friends and his mother. So, and then Luthen. I mean, Luthen, Jesus Christ. Luthen's monologue. I mean, Nick... The Gilroy factor, I mean, this one to me, and we'll see where you're coming in at, but I think at minimum, Andor is A tier, if not bleeding into S. So go ahead. Yeah, I mean, look, I have my issues with the Kino Loy thing. I was actually thinking about it a couple weeks ago, and it made me laugh even harder than I did when it first happened, because I was like, this guy literally orchestrates this whole escape. But he did it for his friends, man. He did it for his friends. But here's the thing. When the Empire gets there and is like, why are you the only person who didn't escape? And he says, I can't swim. They laugh at him. What do you... No, they don't laugh at him. If I'm the Imperial officer, I push him off into the water immediately. And it's like, what did you think was going to happen? We were just going to take you back and save you? Fuck you, bro. I'm pushing you into the water. Or I'm torturing you. There was no better, just because you can't swim doesn't mean that whatever is coming from the Empire is better than you potentially being saved by somebody else. Nick's cat just took out his setup. I just heard something. No. He knocked over my water bottle, so that just hit the ground. Come on, little baby. She's like, come on, dude. You've talked too much. Yeah, but basically, I think it's S tier. I think that the show is fantastically done. I think that it gives you a perspective into the galaxy that we've never had before, and it's very, very well executed. Kino Loy aside, as the dumbest part of any Star Wars show that I may have seen. I'm telling you, man, Kino Loy lives. He's going to be back in season 2. You just wait. Yeah, you just wait. I really do hope he is, because if he isn't, and he's just like, well, Kino Loy something, then it's just like, what the fuck? Also, you are there was just so many stupid moments with that whole thing. You are jumping off this thing with at least 100 other people. He doesn't like it. You don't think to ask one person hey, bro, I can't swim. It's 50 or 60 feet from here to the shore. Or it's anybody got any floaties in their pants? Can help me? Can anybody just hey, just help me along? That's it. Casson, you were a lifeguard, weren't you? It's so fucking easy to help if you know how to swim, it's so easy to help somebody else swim. This is one of my favorite Nick rants of all time on the show. This guy has had a hard-on for Kino Loy's escape since it happened. All of us, I'm crying over the moment, yeah, one way out, yeah. But that's also the other thing. He's one way out. I get here on the show, man. I'm like, damn, Nick, that's such a great moment. I'm getting ready for him to be yeah, dude, just like everyone else, I love it. He's like, yo, that is the dumbest shit I've... Yeah. He's one way out chanting the whole way there, and then he gets to the one way out, and he's like, oh, I can't swim. Just the dumbest shit I've heard. I love it. I hope that there is a scene that shows him being pushed off of the platform into the water by the Empire. Someone make Nick a Kino Loy shirt with his face and then a target symbol over it. Yeah,
because that's the most. That is the most accurate thing that would happen. Is the Empire gets back? They ask, "Why are you the one person on this fucking platform that has not, like that's still here, that hasn't escaped?" He says, "I can't swim," and they're like, "Good," and they push him off.
Well, there you go. Nick just wrote a bonus scene for Andor season 2. So, hey, listen, people. Even with all that hate, I'm still taking Andor up to S tier. It is so well done. Every aspect of that production, outside of Nick's little thing on One Way Out, is S tier. So Andor is going up into our first S tier selection. It's all by itself, but I don't think it will be that way for too long. All right, next one we have on our list to rank here, the Ahsoka series. It's somewhat fresh. It came out, a year or two ago, 2023, I believe. Hey there, Star Wars Order. Good to see you. That's the fun thing about tier ranking. Not everyone's always going to agree. So we got the Ahsoka live action series. Again, this one had some legacy shit. It almost had some cheat codes, if you know what I mean. I mean, we were bringing Hayden back. We're doing flashbacks. We're doing world between world callbacks, Purgils. It was essentially live action Star Wars Rebels. So, like I said, it kind of was cheating. Almost like The Mandalorian kind of had a cheat because they're like, hey, do you want to watch a series about a dude that looks fucking awesome? Yeah! Well, same thing with Ahsoka. You want to watch a series that's based on one of the best Star Wars animated series of all time? Yeah! All right, so... it starts a bit slow. First 2-3 episodes are a little slow as we're setting things up. Remember, we all bitched like, oh, Ahsoka seems like she's dead or sleepwalking. And we realized, you know what? She actually was, and it was part of the story. And that's why we got probably one of the best episodes of live action ever, which would have been E5, when we spend nearly the entire episode with Anakin Skywalker in Force Ghost form in the WBW as he tries to make her realize that, hey, listen, you are not me. I am not you. You didn't make me. I didn't make you. You got to do your thing. You got to fight. You got to wake up. Get your shit back in the game. And sure enough, she does and becomes Ahsoka the White. Then we go to Peridia. We get the cool reveal with Balin and the Mortis gods, which was kind of shocking. We get to see live action Thrawn, even though Nick calls him Tic-Tac-Toe Thrawn. So a lot of good moments. Live action Ezra, live action Sabine. They said, fuck you, Zeb, because who needs that? Live action Hera, live action Chopper. Chopper had a good murderous moment, or he wanted to murder some people on Corellia. We got some good lightsaber duels in there. Balin and Ahsoka 2 times. Ahsoka, Ezra, and Sabine all strapped up with sabers. So it was pretty damn good. I mean, it was a Filoni pet project. It was his baby. You could definitely tell that. It definitely dove way deeper into the mystical side of the Force than we've ever seen in anything live action. So I think it got us all excited. Then, of course, you had the return of Hayden, live action Anakin in General Skywalker mode. It had a lot of fan service. So, Nick, where do you want to take Ahsoka here? Look who joined up. Vane's up in this piece.
Yes.
Marty Matulis. Welcome. Pirate Vane. Good to see you, buddy.
Pirate Vane from Skeleton Crew in the chat. Welcome back, Marty. I was not here to meet you last time. It was just you and Matt, but happy to have you on the show.
Excellent.
But so my thoughts on Ahsoka, I do have my obvious quarrels with how Thrawn was done. That is well documented. I like the show overall, and I think that Balin's character really elevates this show as a whole. I think that everybody else did a great job too, but I think that Ray Stevenson as Balin was just a really fantastic addition to the Star Wars universe. It's sad, obviously, that he can't continue on in that role, and I'm excited to see what Rory McCann brings to it in season 2. Obviously, having Hayden Christensen back as Anakin Skywalker for the first time in couple decades was also choice, just fantastic addition. I say that this is an A-tier show. I know that it wasn't my favorite, and probably what's going to end up happening is like, what I would consider my favorite show may not be above this one. I mean, it just depends on how the tiers play out. But I do think that this deserves an A tier, even though the portrayal of Thrawn isn't as strong as I would have liked it to be. It was still a really good show. It sets up some really interesting happenings in the Mandoverse with the return of Thrawn and the Night Sisters to, or like the Thrawn and his Night Sister army.
They're at Dathomir hanging out.
Yeah, to Dathomir and the Standard Galaxy. So, I would say A tier on this.
Yeah, I'm kind of wish it's hard. It's like, oh man, but it's Ahsoka, it's Anakin, Sabine, Ezra, all our friends. But in the end, it just, something was a bit off. Even with all the fan service, something was just slightly a bit off. I really did like it. I do think it's A tier, very low S tier. But over here, this is still a democracy. So we're going to go ahead and I would probably go low S tier. Nick's going A tier. So it gets A tier overall. I think that's a fair rating for the Ahsoka series. And the franchise itself could definitely get a boost with season 2, depending on the story Dave chooses to tell. Because where they go with the Mortis gods, I mean, that could be some wild shit. Okay? Like, that could really open up literally Pandora's box. So I am kind of excited to see where that goes. But for now, sorry, Rosario. We love you. You look great. Love you too, Hayden. You look a little older, but that's okay. You're going A tier.
A tier.
All right, Nick. All right. Well, here it is.
Here's the one that's good. There's no place that we could put this
that's going to make people happy. So
like we could put it at the lowest tier. We could put it at the highest tier. We could put it at C, A, or B. It wouldn't matter where we rank this. People are still going to be pissed.
Well, let me set it up and we'll see where we go here. Okay. You probably know what we're talking about. If you've been in the Star Wars fandom for the past 6-7 months, you probably know what we're talking about. It was one of the, if not the most polarizing Star Wars productions since The Last Jedi. It promised to give us a tale through the lens of the dark side, through the Sith. We got some great new characters. I mean, a fantastic character played by Manny Jacinto in Camille. We got to see the High Republic era in live action. Vernestra Rwoh, all grown up as a 135-plus-year-old Jedi Master. The back of Yoda's head. Some of the most excellent lightsaber action in the entire franchise, movie and TV shows combined. But we also had some wonkiness. We had some of the worst music ever produced. The power of one, the power of two, the power of many deserved to be memed, deserved to be made fun of. It was weird. It was goofy looking. The first few episodes pacing was weird. It was clunky. But overall, every week, Nick and I came and sat around the Star Wars Time Show fire and usually spoke fairly positive about it. So I'm not going to be someone that's like, oh, now because it's so unpopular and canceled, I'm going to say I never liked it. No. I stick to my guns as we were talking about it over the summer. I do think it suffered from some production issues overall. It was like only episodes 4, 5 felt very tight. 5 being the tightest, some of the tightest Star Wars live action on the planet. That's where Camille was just going in and butt effing everybody on KOFOR there. Then we got a great reveal at the end. DP, Darth Plagueis hanging out on that island. We got the Cortosa stuff, the helmet. I mean, there was some good lore being woven in, but it never paid off for the masses. It absolutely lit a fire within the fandom. The cast got treated like shit. Not that we're going to fold that into our rankings here. But I think overall to me, Nick, it's probably from start to finish, the fact that it was canceled, we're never going to get to follow up on some of its plot threads. I think it's right in there around a B for me to start. So where are you at?
Yeah, I mean, my thought on it is low A, high B. That's kind of where I place it. I think it's better than Bad Batch. I think it's better than Tales of the Jedi. So if we're looking at what's ranked there, I don't think it's as good as Ahsoka. So that's kind of where it's falling for me. By far the best lightsaber action that we've seen in Star Wars in a while. By far brought in more interesting elements from Legends than any other show, in a very well thought out way. I thought that the inclusion of Cortosis, especially in this show during this time period, was really well done and executed. I think that Kamir's character as a standalone character is an S tier character, both in terms of how it was played by Manny Jacinto and how that character gave us a different view of the dark side that we've never seen before. I really enjoyed his take on that character, and him and Leslie's take on that character was fantastic. I think that Vernestra was really good. I think that there were elements of this show that were S tier, and there were elements of this show that were C tier.
Yeah.
So it's just like, for me, I would probably say it would be the highest B that we can give it. So like above Bad Batch B, based off of where we're both landing with it. I enjoyed the story. I wish we would have gotten a second season, because it is one of the few, really, if you look at it, it's one of the only shows on this list that's not working in a territory that already has a ton of other content.
Very good point. It definitely was behind the 8 ball. Everything put it behind the 8 ball even before it aired. The person that made it, people didn't like. The person starring in it, people didn't like, because the way she looks and her sexual preferences. So, it's a shame what happened to the Acolyte. It had potential. I loved how it portrayed the Jedi, even though I think that's what got everyone all butthurt. I thought it was the perfect way to portray their arrogance and the hubris that led to their downfall.
Yeah, truly.
So yeah, it is tough, man. I get what you're saying. It's in between an A and a B. Was it as good as Ahsoka overall? Probably not. Also because I do feel like we were lied to a bit when Leslie told us that it would be self-contained. So if it did get canceled, none of us would be upset that there was threads open, and there was multiple threads wide open. Wide open. You got the sisters reversed now. The Jedi are using the one. You had the whole backstory with Kamir and his former master Vernestra. And then, of course, the big one, that creepy dude in the cave, just kind of sitting there checking out what Kamir and his buddy were up to, making out there on the beach. So, that is definitely true. She lied to us straight up about it being a self-contained story. Yeah. So I know. Watch. We'll do this. We'll let the machines decide. I'm gonna hover it in between A and B, and I'll let go, and wherever it floats to, that's what we'll settle on. How's that?
Yeah.
Or is that democracy dying with applause? All right. Here we go. This is the first time we're gonna hold it in between. Ooh, it's already putting it in the A. I can see it. Oh, I don't know if I like that.
Now he's putting his thumb on the scale. He said he was going to let democracy decide. Right. He's trumping it.
You're right. There you go. You're right. We'll put it in the A. Hey there, Cole Cowan, coming from overseas. Tails in the B tier. You didn't hear the discussion though. Tails kind of gets kicked in the teeth because of Tales of the Empire.
Tails suffers from season 2.
Tails suffers. If Tails was just a Jedi, it would probably be almost S tier. So, it happens. Yeah. Check it out. Do a rewind. But good to see you there, Cole. And it's nice to see that guy in here. Nice active new chatter. So glad you joined the show.
And look,
here.
We know that our tier list is going to be different than everybody else's tier list. That's why there is a opportunity for.
Well, there was the window.
There's
a window has been closed
now. The window is closed. But there was an opportunity for the community to go in and rank build their own tier lists and everything like that, so we could see where the votes fall. This is our personal ranking. We're not trying to anger anybody with this ranking. This is just our personal feelings on the show.
Yeah, over here, I almost in the scroll need to put, we are not the typical angry Star Wars fans. We understand the difference between opinion and fact, and pretty much in this space and pop culture, everything is opinion based. So it's okay. We just don't like when people start telling us that our opinions are wrong. Then we fight them. All right.
Indeed.
Here it is, Nick, the stinker. We got a preview from the fans list, and I have a feeling those in the chat are going to be getting their pitchforks out for this one.
Some people in the chat may not even know what this show is.
I still contend it was a worthy little animated series that did add to the sequel trilogy, whether you like the sequel trilogy or not. It helped fill in some gaps before TFA and then in between TFA and TLJ. I still can contend Kaz Ziono was a very unique and interesting lead Star Wars character. He was kind of a bumblefuck, but also would get the job done. I like that, took place on this basically like almost like a floating city, like a big ass aircraft carrier type of ship. I don't know. Listen, Nick and I, we covered the living shit out of Star Wars Resistance. All right. It was in our early days when we just spun the podcast onto its own platform. So we need things to talk about. This was back when we would record 2 or 3 times a week, right? We would do a specific Resistance podcast. Then we would do the typical show. And we actually, right now on our channel, we still have a Star Wars Resistance podcast series, just in case anyone wants to go back and listen to it after this discussion. But yeah, here, it's already starting. Star Wars Order F, that guy. I think the animation is ugly. Dick Eaton, I like this one. Hey guys, I'm currently on the toilet pooping while watching the stream. Just thought you should know. Hey, we love it. There's
perfect place.
Yeah, that is the best place actually to watch the Star Wars Time Show is on the shitter. Okay, League's positive about everything mostly, and she's saying Resistance was the only show post sequel it wasn't great. So, I mean, dude, I don't know. I mean, I still kind of have a soft spot for Resistance. I did dig it. I mean, Oscar Isaacs himself was attached to it. General Leia was in it. I mean, come on, people. We got to see how the First Order was hiding and how they kind of made their appearance. There were space pirates even before Skeleton Crew. There were ball droids. There were gold troopers. There were red troopers.
Red troopers, too.
But, it was kind of silly. Kaz, like I said, he was kind of adult. He had a little love interest. It was really good for Easter eggs, too. But overall, the Star Wars community as a whole just kind of took a major dump on it. So I think we might have to factor that a bit into our tier rankings. So I'll go ahead and let you start to begin the deliberations.
Yeah, I mean, it's really hard for me to put this over Book of Boba Fett. I think it's D tier. I think that
Sorry,
with
Cash.
this show, this was clearly a show that was built for a much younger audience. I mean, this was a show that, while the animation style was different than Bad Batch and Clone Wars and everything like that, I feel like they were experimenting. I feel like they were trying something different with this and seeing what would stick. I think that it lacked the tone that is necessary for older audiences to really enjoy the show. I'm trying to be as nice as possible. I think that tonally, it was definitely built for a much younger audience. I think that animation-wise, while it looked cool, it didn't have what made Clone Wars, even the early seasons of Clone Wars, feel special. I feel like this just kind of felt like a kiddie-style animation almost. And ultimately, while it did tell the story or a story about how the First Order, there was important shit in there. Like how did Starkiller Base come about? You find that out through Resistance, oddly enough.
You get to see where they're shacking up in the unknown regions, building up their fleet. You see why they're going around trying to take whatever ship that these people were on because they needed it. I don't know, man.
Yeah.
Like I said, listen, I don't think you're wrong. I do feel a little dirty throwing it down the D because I'm not. There's no. Listen, we're no shills. We're a tiny little channel. No one's paying us shit. You know what I mean? There you go. Be mad. Kaz is the goat. Niku was the realist, and Tam is a traitor. Thank you. Finally, someone that actually watched the damn show and gave it a chance. Fuck it. It's going S tier. No. I do agree. Boba Fett's probably better, but that doesn't mean we have to put it in D.
I'm looking at the rest of the stuff on here, and nothing else is going into D.
Okay.
So unless we want to leave D,
well, hold
blank,
on. We may have to
fine.
factor this one in from Star Wars order. I was 9 when this show came out, and I hated it then too.
Wow. Okay. Well.
Oh boy.
Star Wars. So Star Wars order.
All right.
Wow. Okay. So that was probably the demographic that they were aiming at for the show.
Eek. All right. Thank you. It's D. Okay. It's D. I'm getting it. I get it, people. All right. Sorry, Kaz. Sorry, Niku. Sorry, BB-8. We speak your names. All right, that was fun. A minor. That's right, B-man. Yeah. All right, man. This one should be short and sweet. I do want to talk about it a little bit because I do think it is one of the greatest things we got, especially by the time it got to its 7th season. Started a little slow. Here's the funny thing about this series. This is another series people were bitching about and ready to light on fire when it came out. The animation looks like shit. Ahsoka's a dumb cunt. Anakin shouldn't have a Padawan. Nah. But then it became literally a generation's. This is it. Like this is our gospel. Okay. Yeah. So of course we are talking about the Clone Wars, S1 through S7. F7 clearly being some of the best Clone Wars ever told, specifically the Siege of Mandalore arc. I mean, come on. It's a masterpiece. It's an absolute masterpiece. Those 3 episodes alone put the Clone Wars into S tier. I'm not fucking around. But then you even got the Lost season in season 6 where you get some weird shit with Yoda. Yeah. You get the Qui-Gon Force Ghost stuff. You get Darth Bane. You had the Mortis gods. I mean, you actually get to see Anakin Skywalker portrayed in a way that could make you believe that he's going to become this evil force one day. It was perfect. I've said this before. If it wasn't for the Clone Wars series, I'd still be a pretty big fucking hater of the prequels. In particular, Revenge of the Sith. This series finally allowed my old ass to accept the prequels, let go of my hate, and appreciate them for what they are. And it's solely because of the Clone Wars and how well it fleshed out those 3 years in between Attack of the Clones and Revenge of the Sith. It's just fantastic. And like I said, with season 7, the cherry on top, the canon we got out of that, the lore we got out of that, and Maul, man, come on. S tier. Nick.
All right, so I'm going to tell you why this show should be in D tier. And there was an arc that was about droids in the desert that was just absolutely terrible. No, okay, so it's obviously S tier. I mean, it's hard to argue.
I like this anything. Dick Eaton guy. First, he's got a great name, right? Dick Eaton.
Yeah.
But he's like opposites of like the fandom, so I love it. He says Clone Wars sucks, not enough Jar Jar. Obi-Wan sucks. I like it.
Oh my! Is this just EKU?
I know it's EKU Rory's secret. It's his burner. Yeah. But hey, Dick Eaton on the pooper, burner. We love you, pal. You're making me laugh.
I mean, it's S tier. I mean, honestly, it's probably the best show out of anything that's on the list. Let's just be realistic. Like it's
got the most content, right? It's like in terms of its scope, it's pretty beefy.
Yeah, it's got the most content. It set the standard for Star Wars animated, which up to this point really hasn't been matched yet. I mean, Rebels is also a great show, but I think that in terms of Star Wars animated, we just don't have anything that can really live up to it yet.
Well, I mean, Bad Batch enhanced what it was doing. I'd say Bad Batch kind of built upon the animation of Clone Wars.
Oh yeah. Like in terms of like the physical animation, yeah. Absolutely. And I really do think that like Clone Wars is representative of what we're missing in Star Wars in the sequel era right now. Like there should be, and we had this conversation a couple weeks ago, like there should be a Clone Wars style show that's set in the sequel trilogy right now. But yeah, I mean, I think that this is S tier unquestionably. It gave us some of the best arcs of any TV show that Star Wars has put out yet. It built some of the best characters. I mean, Ahsoka came from that show. Obviously, she is a fan favorite. It enhanced the story of so many characters, gave us the Mortis gods, gave us the Morse Scots, which are being used in the Ahsoka series right now, a huge part of that.
I mean,
there's
it
just so
technically
much that
gave
came
us
from
Ahsoka Tano. Like I said, she started as a hated character. Now she is considered one of the top of all time.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's unquestionably that this is an S tier show. So, yeah, absolutely S tier.
Yeah, it's not even close. Like that guy's saying. I mean, it was just good at character development from the get go. It was a thing of beauty. It's a thing of beauty. It had to end though. Okay, it had to end. Just wish Rebels might have got another season or two because I really loved Rebels myself. But yeah, this is no brainer. Clone Wars going S tier. I'm even going to put it in front of Andor. Eat that, Cassian.
As it should
Eat that,
be.
Cassian. Suck it. Okay. Well, you know what? Let's talk about the Clone Wars that started them all. And this is the Gennady version that started in 2003. These used to be considered canon. They were commissioned by George to fill in the gaps in between as he was making Revenge of the Sith. So they did tell the story of how Anakin went from Padawan to Knight, his heroics on the battlefild. You actually get to see Mace Windu do something, and he looks pretty badass.
Yeah.
Anakin has that crazy journey with those people that were turned into the men were turned into big green beasts, and he kind of has his Darth Vader vision. His fight with Asajj Ventress is classic. And even though they're quick hitters, micro series style, it was really good 2D storytelling. You know what I mean? It was 2D storytelling at its finest. I remember watching it. I was still in my 20s, 23 when it came out. And I absolutely looked forward every week to get those little 2-minute pops and then have to wait again until the next one. So I've always been high on Gennady's Clone Wars. I'd argue it remains S tier even to this day, no lower than A tier. But as always, I'd like to hear what young Nick has to say.
Yeah, I mean, I think it gave us a lot in terms of filling in those gaps in a very short period of time. Like Clone Wars, like we just talked about, Star Wars Clone Wars proper now, told that story over 7 seasons, and this essentially did it in what? I mean, there was only 30 episodes.
2 seasons, yeah, but and there were micro episodes too. I mean, they were 2-3 minutes tops.
I mean, like you said, you get to see literally when the moment Anakin goes from Padawan to Knight, and he gets his little rat tail cut off, and he's officially a knighted Jedi Knight of the Order. Like you said, the Mace stuff in there was really strong. You get to see why Grievous talks the way he does.
Yep. That's courtesy of Mace Windu. Little dark side
Force crush. Yeah. Force crush on the chest.
I'm sorry. I wasn't laughing at Nick. Dick Eaton here, he's like my type of person. He's just got that completely oddball sense of humor. George Floyd should have kept those animations canon. It was cool. I'm wiping.
There you go.
I can't help it, man.
He's your stern character.
Yeah, that's what I cannot. I just cannot. I completely love insanity, like dark comedy, stupid shit. So I don't know what Dick Eaton's up to, but I'm glad he found us today because it's been fun, at least for me. So, all right, what are we doing here, Nick? Sorry, like I said, Dick Eaton's got me all fucked up.
I would say low S tier for this one, just because it did the animation style is cool. It told really cool stories, even though it's not canon anymore. It basically built the framework for what Clone Wars became. And I mean, it's a very easy watch if you can find it. I actually have it on DVD, crazy enough. I think it's on Disney Plus. I think it's made it over there. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'm like I said, I'm going S tier. I'm going S or A. I'm fine with either one of those.
Right.
It's just it has some really fucking cool stuff in it, and it's it's really hard to poke holes in it. There was because of how short it was, and like you said, how short the episodes were, there wasn't a lot of fluff or bullshit. It was just quick hitters that were all good, and you really felt you went on a journey with Anakin Skywalker through that. I mean, same way you did with the standard Clone Wars series, but you really got to see the maturation of Anakin Skywalker in a very short period of time.
And his tendency to go hardcore. And both of those series, like I said, way better than Revenge of the Sith, showed that, hey, this guy sometimes has a very short fuse, which probably isn't good for a Jedi. So
yeah,
I think it's fair up there. It is kind of the grandfather. It is the genesis of the Clone Wars series. And you could argue, I mean, you always wonder, like, why did George end up doing his own? You know, I think it's because he's a creator and he kind of want to put his spin on that era. But for 5 years, when did ROTS came out? 2005. Okay,
2005, and then
so for
came
3
out
years after ROTS, Gennedy's Clone Wars, that was it. Like, that was the Clone Wars. That's what you got. And then George, I don't know, needed something to do, maybe needed a couple more millions of dollars. And so he released a movie in 2008 and people were extremely butthurt over it.
They fucking hated it.
And like that's what I love about those types of Star Wars fans. They love to revise history. And they can't realize that they're probably doing the same thing to the next generation of fans by telling them how stupid they are and all that fun stuff. But hey, look at it. In the end, the Clone Wars movie with little stinky Road to the Hutt, hell, he's now going to be in a movie. And Ahsoka has gone on to get her own live action show. So not too shabby there, George, even though people kind of hated it when it first came out.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, for sure.
So let's go with the next one here. We're sticking with animation. We've had 2 seasons of this. We're getting season 3 this year. This is definitely one of the more unique takes we've been presented on Star Wars because it has been given to, you know, manga and anime type of creators, not American studios. I think season 1 was all Japanese. Season 2, it kind of bounced around the world. Season 3, it sounds like it might be going back to the East. But we're talking about Visions, and I've really enjoyed both seasons. I thought season 1 had some of the better shorts. You know, we had that short, Nick, where we both loved. We felt like it was almost the start of a movie where, you know, they kind of end up in this place and no one really knows who is who and, oh, they're Force users and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And then, you know, season 2 had some really interesting shorts and ways to portray Force users and concepts of the Force and just Star Wars tropes in general. You got to like all the different animations, the different creatives being involved. Nothing ever feels the same in a season of Visions. Every short is unique and different. I don't think it sniffs an S tier, but I do think we could talk about it for sure within A or B tier. Yeah,
yeah. And like you said, this one's so much harder to judge than any other show because there's no through line.
Correct.
Like there's no story inherent to it. Each thing has its own story, has its own feel, has its own animation.
And was it 9 and 9? Did both have 9 shorts? I think both seasons.
I think so.
Yeah, so I mean, you're looking at 18 individual narratives, which is impressive in and of itself. So, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. My lean is high B to low A is kind of how I'm leaning with it right now. I do think that season 1 overall was better than season 2. But it is such a hard thing to talk about seasonal, like what's better seasonally because of how different the show is structured. Right now I'm leaning a little bit more towards like the high or the low A part of it because it is such an interesting style of show and it gives so many different people and so many different cultures opportunity to tell their Star Wars story. And that's what I found most interesting about it. It's like, hey, let's watch, you know, this, Southeast Asian version of Star Wars and see what see how their culture interacts with Star Wars in a very cool way. So like, there's never in my opinion, there was never an episode of Visions that was bad. It was just always like, wow, this is such an interesting perspective that Star Wars is being taken from that I've never really thought about before. All right. So I'm leaning in the in the low A tier.
Yeah, you know what, man? I think you sold me on that. I was kind of firm putting it in the B. It's a series I do appreciate, but it's like, I probably won't go back to it very often, if at all. But I think the points you made do justify it getting some A-tier action. All right, you're going up there, you're hanging out with Ahsoka. We'll put you in front of Acolyte. How's that? Does that make you feel better? There you go, Vision. So yeah, Vision goes in A-tier. I can agree with that. Star Wars nerd, good to see you. Hello there. Welcome to the chat, my friend. And a good they had a good question of the week or ask us anything last week. I forget what it was, but tune in to last week's episode, E343 of the SWTS. All right, this is probably going to be an easy one too. Especially if you just consider season 1, season 2, the moments that it brought us, the fan joy, the man tears, the girl tears, the kid tears, that some moments this franchise shown into our brains. We're, of course, talking about what started it all for Disney Plus, The Mandalorian. It did have a cheat code, kind of like Ahsoka. I mean, when you tease a series like, hey, look at this guy, and he's basically wearing stainless steel Boba Fett armor, you're like, okay, I can get into this. And luckily enough, it turned out being pretty damn excellent. We had the big reveal with Grogu to start. No one had that on their Mandalorian narrative bingo card, and things just kind of went from there. And they formed this kind of quasi-familial bond. We get the big Darksaber reveal at the end of season 1 with Moff Gideon cutting himself out of a TIE fighter that Din Djarin flew up to and exploded with his jetpack. We had IG-11 sacrificing himself. We got to meet the awesome character of Greef Karga, a.k.a. Greef Cardboard. Rest in peace, Carl. Din himself, pretty great. Great action. It was fun. Grogu, most of us fell in love with him. Then season 2 shows up. It gets even better. We end on that immaculate moment when Red 5 shows up on Gideon's cruiser and everyone starts crying due to an overwhelming sense of nostalgia. And then even season 3, I know a lot of people were down on that one, but I kind of like the world building we got. We got some New Republic story. We got, obviously, the Mandalorians figuring their shit out. Bo-Katan reclaiming the planet. Mandalore is active again. Gideon may be dead. Thrawn has returned from Ahsoka. What's going to happen next? So, to me, The Mandalorian is an easy S tier, but as always, we want to hear from Young Nick.
Yeah. I mean, it's S tier for sure. It kicked off Star Wars live action TV, and if you're a hater of Star Wars live action TV, then maybe this is D tier for you. I don't know. But I think that unquestionably this was the introduction that Star Wars needed to live action TV. I think that the narratives that have been told in it thus far have been fantastic. I know that for me as a fan of Mandalorians and everything like that, it's been really cool to see how they've wrapped in Mandalorian stories from Legends and other properties and really used Din as the shepherd to bring about the resurgence of Mandalore as not only a planet but as a people. I'm very excited to see where the crossover movie goes and everything else. So yeah, I think that Mandalorian is easily S tier.
Oh man, my man just made another chat, so hold on, I gotta compose myself. But yeah, it's not worth even spinning our tires even more on this one. Mando is definitely S tier. That is very clear. I hope Dick Eaton keeps coming back, because if he's not entertaining anyone else, he's entertaining my dumbass. So that's all that really matters. I didn't like that green monkey. Why did Mandatory ruin his life for it? I wanted to see him hunt down a Jedi to use their lightsaber. Oh man, I am brain dead. And I read them in the chat here. I'll put it up on the screen for a second. There you go. For people that aren't, you gotta remember we dual broadcast, so our chats are split. I can see everything, but those that are in vertical only see vertical. Those that are in horizontal only see horizontal. So I try to share the ones that are relevant to everyone on the screen. But I'm sorry, like I said, I like kind of idiocy type of humor, and this guy's definitely scratching that itch right now. So, okay. All right, next one here. Probably, I don't know. I mean, we'll see where Nick goes, but I kind of tipped my hat earlier when we were talking about the Clone Wars, but Star Wars Rebels. So this was Disney's first crack at an animated Star Wars TV series. Some could argue this is why Clone Wars kind of had to die for a little bit and then be kind of brought back to life for a final season over on the Disney platform. But I think Rebels, even though it was only 4 seasons, I think it presented some of the more coherent world and character building, very much like Clone Wars did. I mean, all the characters were developed. The world was developed over the 4 seasons. You had that kind of found family feel throughout the 4 seasons. Ezra, Kanan's death moment, probably one of the most emotional sad Star Wars TV scenes out there. And just like the characters, like characters from Clone Wars, they've become top tier for the fan base. So much so that they have been immortalized in live action. So I really love Rebels, and my rating's going to be a bit overinflated solely because of the Kanan death. Like that shit is so touching, so emotional, and still can mess with me even all these years down. So to me, Rebels, like Clone Wars, is an S tier type of show.
Yeah. I mean, I'm kind of right there. I'm like low S, high A. Obviously I think that the show is fantastic. I think that Ezra as a character developed really well, starting off as like this little sewer rat essentially from Lothal, and then turning into the hope of the Jedi once again
hangs out
galaxy.
with Hondo, hangs out with Maul. I mean, there's a lot of Ezra haters in the chat right now, and that's fine, but I do like Ezra. I think he's a quality little character. He should, though, like where they fucked up, especially in the Ahsoka series, he had a boner for Sabine. This whole like, oh yeah, no, we're brother and sister stuff. Get the hell out of here. He at least wanted to bone her. Like, let's be real. Okay. So what do you think?
Yeah,
Does it deserve S tier, or you want to chip it a little bit?
I mean, the thing is like the show did a lot. Like I feel like for a show that was only 4 seasons,
Took Thrawn out of the galaxy. You could argue if Thrawn stays on Lothal, then the Rebel Alliance, they can never muster up a big enough force to take on the Death Star. Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of stuff that happened here. And look, hey, I'm not the type of person who gets angry if the S tier is heavy. So, for me, I would probably say like A, like the highest A that it could get. Okay. Like it would be A above Ahsoka.
All right.
But I mean, like I know how much this show means to you, and I know that I'm also on the border of A and S, so I'm very comfortable with it being in S tier.
Dak guy, you're new here. Gotta remind you, there is no such thing as filler content in Star Wars. All right, buddy? No such thing.
Hey, man. I mean, look, if you want to talk about filler content, you could fill a whole season with filler content from Clone Wars. It's just the truth.
Here he is. Hold on. Dick's back. Why was Chewbacca purple in that show? See? I mean, come on. How can you not like this guy? It's Zeb, Dick. Come on, buddy. I know what you're doing over there. All right, I'll acquiesce. I'll give it high A for sure. See Ahsoka. Take a back seat. Smell Ezra's bunghole. All right, Nick, we got 2 to go. Next one, very recent in everyone's mind. We actually just had a cast member in this little stupid live stream. Marty Matulis was here. He plays Vane the Space Pirate. We had Ravi Cabot-Conyers on the show. He played Wim. So it's S tier.
Marty's still here.
Yeah, Marty!
It's S tier, baby!
He's still here. All right. So that's it.
Honestly,
we're talking Skeleton Crew. And look, I mean, like I said, this is the freshest one in everyone's mind. If you were here for our breakdowns, we were pretty much blowing this show every single episode, regardless if we had talent on this show or not. I think Skeleton Crew was a breath of fresh air. I think the kids were amazing. Jude Law was godlike. Vane is one of the greatest alien characters of all time. He's an excellent space pirate, as was Brutus and Gunter and the rest. I thought Skeleton Crew was charming as fuck. I absolutely loved it. I want a second season. I want to see what these characters get mixed up in. It was just super charming, a little different. Added some lore to the Mandoverse era, all the stuff with AT-AT and its ties to the Old Republic. I like those touches. Kim, New Republic being involved. It was just great. So I'm S tier in Skeleton Crew in my mind.
Yeah, I mean, I gotta agree. I think that there's nothing that I can see in this show that'd be like, man, I wish they did this differently, or I didn't like this character, or what was this thread about? Everything was tight. The writing was fantastic. The character portrayals were fantastic. It gave us a view into a portion of the galaxy that we had never seen before in a time where there's a lot of content already, and that's hard to do. I think the story was super fun, and it really was able to give us a slice of Star Wars that was fantastic without relying on like outside characters that we'd already seen before. Like, they didn't need to bring in Din. They didn't need to bring in Luke Skywalker
no cheat
to make
codes.
the show.
The show had no cheat codes.
It was just good all the way through, and I really enjoyed how they made the show about the kids, and kids could enjoy it. But if you've been a Star Wars fan like we have for 30, 40 years, like, you can still watch this and be like, damn, this show's fucking good.
That made me feel good by the end.
Yeah. And yeah, I mean, I think that this is an S tier show. I'm excited to see. I mean, I hope that there's a season 2. Obviously, with Star Wars live action, we've never had a season 2 for anything other than Mandalorian, and now we'll have Andor coming out.
True statement.
So who knows? Who knows what's going to happen? But I think that the narrative that was told was fantastic. It presented new lore to us in a way that we were definitely not expecting. And yeah, I loved it. It's one of the few Star Wars shows that I chose to watch with my girlfriend, because I know that she doesn't like to watch Star Wars stuff. But I was like, you know what?
This one might work.
You'll like this. Yeah, I think that you'll like this. And she did. So
yeah, it just, Mando said something in here. Skeleton Crew is the most Star Wars show since Mandalorian, and I agree. And I actually think it was sitting behind the 8 ball. You know, it didn't have any cheat codes. Its cast was kids. I mean, right there, people are like, probably not for me. And you know, we were committed to it, and it turned out to be excellent. And I just hope to the Force that more people catch wind and actually give it the viewership like it deserves. So it's S tier. I'm sorry, it really is. Like, I cannot find a single hole to punch into it. I really can't. I mean, it even if it doesn't get a season 2, so what? Unlike the Acolyte, it told its story. We had finality on any question, any plot thread that show opened. We had finality. We had clarity. That's all I can ask for. Skeleton Crew, welcome to S tier, baby. All right, there we go. Last but certainly not least, that's right, Marty. May it continue to grow through word of mouth. We will keep doing our best to beat the Skeleton Crew drum. We've already put out our content, what season 2 would be like, but the internet rejected it. So we can only do what we can do, my friend. But I'm
as with most of our content.
I'm tickled that you decided to spend a little bit of your evening with us here on the SWTS. I really am. All right, Nick, let's kind of close this out. We got our last victim here. This is another one. I don't know. Like, I think you and I are somewhat on the same page. This might be one where you're finally a bit higher than I was, but we're talking about the Kenobi series. It's a series that was once a movie and might have been better off as a movie. It had some interesting plot points that we heard from the original writer where, you know, Commander Cody was actually going to be on Tatooine kind of shadowing Obi-Wan to show him how vulnerable he still was, and he was going to be the one to kind of get Kenobi out of his funk. But we got what we got, and Bail Organa is the one that wakes him up, and we got this tale with young Leia that was very charming, that provided some highly emotional moments for fans of the prequels in particular. You know, his little talks with that lovely little girl actress that played Leia about her parents and just what he couldn't tell her, and the fight with Vader on that moon where he cracks his helmet, Obi-Wan getting burnt, dragged through the fire by, you know, Vader on crack. It definitely had great moments. I would say it's one of the wonkier looking live action. That's the one knock I will agree with a lot of people on. Kenobi just felt very volume-esque in almost every aspect. But come on, you had Ewan McGregor in there. You got, this was Hayden's real return to live action Star Wars. This is the first time he came back, got the Don the Vader stuff. Anytime we get to see Vader, obviously it's going to be, I would say, at least B to A tier, if not A tier minimum. But it was kind of divisive. You know, some people didn't think this series needed to even exist. Some people didn't really like what they did with Kenobi and having him interact with Leia. I overall dug the story it told. But again, I'm like, do we need to see that? You know, I guess I do check in on it a bit during my yearly rewatch of all of Star Wars. But what are you thinking on Kenobi here?
Yeah, I mean, I really enjoyed this series. It's one of my favorite live action series just because of obviously the Vader arcs in it. I think that the inside, like the interior look at the Inquisitorius was very interesting as well. Yeah, I mean, it's volume heavy. This was filmed during like the height of COVID, so it's like, what can you really do? Like, what's like, you know, they're working with what they got there. And I loved seeing Ewan again. Like, you know, whether it be nostalgia or whether it be, you know, anything else. Like, I thoroughly enjoyed this series, and I think that the narrative that it told in that interim period of time was very good.
Some great Vader moments, like Mariana is reminding us, I am what you made me.
Yeah, like honestly, some of the best Vader moments that we've seen. I mean, I think that
taking
some of the Vader moments
in Star Killer style.
Yeah, like, you know, the fight, like you said, the initial fight between Kenobi and Vader, where like Vader is dragging him, like just absolutely manhandling Kenobi. Like, you watch that,
killed
like,
a few randos en route, you know, just people that were eating dinner, dragged them out of their window and snapped their neck.
Just like, you got that sense of you like that episode made you understand why Darth Vader is to be feared.
Yeah,
the way that they portrayed him in that was just absolutely fantastic. I think it's an A-tier show.
Yeah.
It's one of those ones where it's like, is the narrative necessary? Is a question that comes up a lot, but it's like, you can ask that question about any of these shows. Like, is any narrative necessary? True. No, like no narrative is necessary. But if it's chosen to be written, then you can only judge it on its quality. And I think that quality wise, it's unquestionably better than Bad Batch and Tales of the Jedi. It's up there, like, in my opinion, it's better than The Acolyte. In my opinion, it's better than Ahsoka. It's not better than Rebels.
See you, Marty.
And so, like, yeah, like that's my opinion there. So
yeah,
A tier.
Yeah, I'm with that guy. It's better. It's definitely better than The Acolyte overall for sure. I mean, I don't even think it's close. I mean, Kenobi, but again, Kenobi kind of has cheat codes built into it, so it should be better than a show like The Acolyte, which did take a pretty hardcore risk. So yeah, I think A tier works quite well for this. I would probably even throw it in front of Ahsoka if we are ranking within the tiers themselves. I think Kenobi, for me at least, and since I'm driving, I'll put it behind Rebels. So there you go. Yeah. And there is our list. Hold on, my friend's checking in with me here. I'll put it up on the screen for people to read if they want to, but my buddy DE just keeps coming through. I really appreciate this type of like literal toilet humor. Big fan. All right, Nick, let's go ahead and break down the list for everyone, and we will show what the fans came up with. As long as the page crashed out again. They really need to check out their website, but we'll get there. All right, so the SWTS host. Here are our ranks for the 14 Star Wars TV series, and you are right, Star Wars order. We did not include droids or Ewoks because I don't think anyone has ever seen those. So S tier, Clone Wars, Andor, Gennady Clone Wars 2003, The Mandalorian, and Skeleton Crew. A tier, we got Star Wars Rebels, Kenobi, Ahsoka, Visions, and Acolyte. B tier, Bad Batch and Tales of X. C tier, Book of Boba. And down there in the basement, Star Wars Resistance. Wah, wah, wah. All right, the fans. Sorry, we only had 13 vote. Next time, make sure you're following our socials so you can have your voice heard. Honestly, not a little bit of difference here. They're S tier for the fans. They got Andor, Clone Wars, Mando, Star Wars Rebels, Skeleton Crew, and 2003 Clone Wars. A tier, Tales of X and Ahsoka. B tier, Visions, Bad Batch, Kenobi. C tier, Book of Boba and the Acolyte. And just like us, poor Kaz and his friends down there in D. So thanks for playing along. At this point in time, though, we're going to go ahead and close some things out with the fan segment. All right, so this week it's going to be a little bit shorter than usual. We did not get to the top 5, so we apologize. We'll be back to it next week, but we do still have question of the week to get to, which you can get involved in, just like Ask Us Anything, by following us on our socials and just making sure you have notifications turned on so you can see when we post our shiz. All right, what the hell do we need to pull? I need to get back to Slackaroony. So there's that. Right. There's this. Let's get the question of the week pulled up. As always, if you're new here, the question of the week is always themed around our main segment. So naturally, we want to know what Star Wars TV series is your favorite or least favorite. So what do we got,
There
Nick?
we go. All right. First up, we have League of Extraordinary Sixthers. She says, Andor, Ahsoka, and Rebels. I saw Tartakovsky Clone Wars, and that was brilliant. So there you go. League's top 3. Beyond the Dune Sea says, the older I get, the more I love Gennady Tartakovsky's
look at this guy.
Clone Wars.
These motherfuckers, they're stuck on Pirates of the Caribbean right now.
They're on the Pirates.
Oh yeah,
train.
Look at their logo. I mean, they go full in. They get dressed up. I mean, they do some shit. So they're more of a studio show.
They're beyond the Dune Sea and into the high seas.
That's right.
It seems. So, I love the simplicity of it and how it does so much with so little. Makes me wish we had more 2D animation in Star Wars. Hey, I would love to see it, but 2D animation in Star Wars, Visions got some of that. 2797 Studios. Mr. Bat says that's an easy choice. Clone Wars easily saved Star Wars and made sense of that. Made sense of the mess that was the chosen one. Love me all Star Wars, but the Clone Wars was peak. I am not a committee. He says I love all of them. I can't say I have at least. I can't say I have a least favorite. Honestly, I'm still writing out the Acolyte. I love Skeleton Crew, and anything prior to then has been great. But I really enjoy the perspective of the Acolyte. The score was incredible.
Oh, okay.
It certainly has flaws, but for this viewer, it was a great addition to our universe.
There's nothing wrong with that. See how easy that is, people, to just accept other people's opinions that may not be popular.
Window Box says, my favorite has been Andor. I just love the tone and the story leading up to what's become my all-time favorite Star Wars movie, which he's talking about Rogue One. Different, but also digging Skeleton Crew. Least favorite. I've had a hard time with the Acolyte. I've yet to finish the season. Figure Hurts.
How about that? You remember that this is Figure fucking Hurts.
Yeah,
from like
Figure
day
fucking
one.
Hurts. It's been a long time since we've seen Figure Hurts here. Welcome back to the family. He says probably Rebels, then closely followed by Clone Wars, with Andor a distant third for me. And then Abigail Sky says favorite is Andor. So excited for season 2. And hey,
bingo bango, just like that.
Bingo bango, just like that. That's the end of the top 5, because there is no top 5. And that's the end of our show for this week. So Matt, go ahead and close us out.
Oops. Hey, we'll do better next time, my friends. I'm pretty sure most people tune out during the fan segment anyways, except for our hardcore fandos. We call them the Discorders. If you do want to kind of carry the conversation throughout the week when we're not doing our lives, don't forget we got an open Discord down there in the description. We actively post to Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube daily. You're going to get at least one short, typically clips from our shows. They could be past shows, new shows. You never know. It's what the AI overlords tell us that humans should like. But it's time to put E344 to bed of the SWTS. As always, great to see all of you in here. The new people, that guy, Dick Eaton, you're an all-star. Marty Matulis showing up. I mean, look at that. We got Hollywood celebs in here these days. Mariana coming back. Mando Pirate Star Wars Order 2797. Be Mad. You know who you are. we speak your names. There's always time for Star Wars Time. And don't forget, let's keep building up this little community. Let's not rely on the algorithms. We can't trust the machines. We can't trust much of anything these days. But we can trust all of you to get out there and stump for your boys on the SWTS. Just say, hey guys, go over to StarWarsTime.net. You don't even have to look at their dumb content. Just go ahead and subscribe to the podcasts. Yes, we have those too. StarWarsTime.net. Plenty of platforms. Pick one. Leave us a rating and review. And you can also find us on YouTube over on StarWarsTime.net. Or if you like typing, youtube.com/StarWarsTimeShow. We miss you too, Marianne. It's always good to see old faces come back in the chat. I mean, we really do. At this point in time, I think I could speak for both of us. I mean, we do this so we get to hang out once a week and talk as friends, but it's also, we kind of got this extended family now. And, you know, maybe Dick will be back next week from the toilet. Maybe he'll be a new member of this little goofy family. It would be great. We speak all your names. We appreciate you. Keep beating that SWTS drum for us. There is always time for Star Wars Time. And if you listen to the Star Wars Time show, the Force will be with you always.